Stories from Upanishads.
Retold by Arghya Goswami.
Dear friends, thank you for joining in today and hope you are quite excited to listen to these stories from Upanishad, as I am excited to tell them to you. If you have tuned in for the first time and loved listening to the podcast, please subscribe, follow, or download the episode. Furthermore, I would also request you to put in your valuable review comments about the episode, as I will learn from this and try to make the presentation better in the future. So today I am going to tell you the story of Satyakama Jābāla, the seeker of truth. I first read about Satyakama when I was quite young. I couldn't understand much of it and passed it on as just another story. However, my interest in Upanishads grew as I became more mature with age and began revisiting these sacred texts and the stories within them. I read the story of Satyakama again, and now I started looking at it from a different angle. Satyakama's story appears in 4th Khanda of Chandogya Upanishad in verses 4.4 to 4.8. It's just Satyakama's journey in search of understanding the four quarters of the Brahman or the Supreme Self. One day, a young boy named Satyakama asked his mother, "Mother, I want to live a life of a learned man and hope to become a teacher of sacred text. So please tell me what is my gotra, my family lineage." His mother grew thoughtful and in a pensive mood told him about her lineage rather than his own. On hearing this, he was sad and heartbroken. He knew that without knowing his true lineage or his gotra, he won't be granted any education from a revered guru. His dream of leading a life of a learned man seemed to be doomed. He realized that all children get their paternal lineage. Unfortunately, he only knew about his maternal lineage. However, he paid his respect to his mother and left for sage Haridrumata Gautama's hermitage. On reaching the hermitage, he visited the great sage. Falling at his feet, he pleaded with folded hands and said, "O my revered sir, I wish to be a learned man. Please accept me as your pupil." The great sage asked him, "My dear child, I would be happy to take you as my pupil, but you must tell me your gotra. What is your family lineage?" On hearing this, Satyakama with heavy heart told the sage, "O my revered sir, I knew you would ask me about my family lineage, my gotra. So I asked my mother about it. She said in her youth she served as a maid to many people and got me. Unfortunately, she doesn't know my paternal lineage or my gotra either. However, she told me that her name is Jābāla and my name is Satyakama. So I must refer to my name as Satyakāma Jābāla. So I am Satyakama Jābāla, sir." The revered sage smiled on hearing this from the young boy and calmly said, "My dear child, none other than a Brahmin could speak such a deleterious truth about himself. You are a Brahmin, and I will teach you and accept you as my pupil." Thus Satyakama, despite of not knowing his gotra or family lineage, was able to live his dream and get inducted as a pupil under the able tutelage of the great sage Haridrumata Gautama. So after a few days of learning and staying in the hermitage, sage gave Satyakama 400 lean and weak cows and bulls and asked him to take them to the forest and graze them. While accepting his guru's command, he said, "O my guru, my revered sir, I shall not return till these cows multiply to 1,000. On saying this, he drove the cows towards the forest, and he travelled many days across various meadows to reach a dense forest. He found a good spot for the animals to graze and waited for them to multiply. Gradually, days changed to months and months into years as bulls and cows reproduced and multiplied. As years went by, a bull from his herd told Satyakama that they have multiplied to become 1,000, and it was time for him to take them back to the hermitage. As he was getting ready to depart, the bull said again, "Sir, let me tell you about a quarter of the Brahman." Satyakama happily agreed, as he was a seeker of knowledge. The bull said, 1/16th is the direction of the east, 1/16th is the direction of west, 1/16th is the direction of north, and 1/16th is the direction of south. These four directions make up 4/16th or a quarter of the Brahman. This quarter is called Prakashvan, or the radiant. He who meditates on Brahman as a radiant shines in this world. After driving them throughout the day, he retired at nightfall by the fire which he fueled after penning the cattle in a safe location. He finally sat down to the west of the fire facing the east. Then the fire, or the Agni, spoke to him. "My dear Satyakama," startled, Satyakama looked at the fire and with folded hands asked, "Lord," Agni continued, "let me impart you with the knowledge of the next quarter of Brahman." Satyakama was happy to hear that and agreed to listen to Agni. Agni continued, 1/16th is the earth, 1/16th is the atmosphere, 1/16th is the sky, and 1/16th is the ocean. This 4/16th is the quarter of Brahman named Anantavan, or the endless. One who knows him to be thus, meditates upon him as endless, becomes endless in this world. After a pause, Agni told him that a swan will tell him about the third quarter of Brahman. Next day again he drove the cattle towards the hermitage, and at sundown sat down by the fire after penning the cattle in a secured location facing towards the east. Suddenly a large swan flew down to him and called him by his name. With folded hands, Satyakama asked the swan if he would tell him about the third quarter of Brahman. The swan said, "My dear Satyakama, 1/16th is the fire, 1/16th is the sun, 1/16th is the moon, and 1/16th is the lightning. This 4/16th is the quarter of Brahman named Jyotishman, the effulgent. One who knows him thus, meditates upon him as Jyotishman, becomes effulgent in this world." After saying this, the swan told Satyakama that a diver bird will tell him about the fourth quarter of Brahman. The next day he drove the cattle towards the hermitage, and by nightfall he sat down by the fire facing towards the east. A diver bird flew down beside him and told him that he was going to tell him about the fourth quarter of the Brahman. Delighted, Satyakam paid attention with folded hands. The diver bird said, 1/16th is the breath, 1/16th is the eye, 1/16th is the ear, and 1/16th is the mind. This 4/16th is the quarter of Brahman named Ayatanavan, and all supporting. One who knows him thus and meditates upon him as all supporting becomes that in this world, and then he wins the world and possessing all support in this world. On knowing all the four quarters of Brahman, Satyakama reached his Guru's hermitage along with 1,000 cattle. As soon as he entered the Guru's chamber, sage Haridrumata Gautama asked him, "My child, you look radiant and shine like a knower of Brahman. Who has taught you?" Satyakama calmly replied, "My Guru, I learned this from non-human gurus such as a bull, fire, swan and a diver bird. So may I request you to enlighten me with the knowledge of Brahman, as the knowledge received directly from one's own guru becomes complete. Then sage Haridrumata Gautama taught him all the 4 quarters of Brahman with more meaning and examples, which helped him to learn and get enriched with eternal knowledge of Brahman. Later on, after graduating from the hermitage, Satyakama himself became a great teacher with his dreams fulfilled. So my friends, that was the story of Satyakama, the seeker of truth. What we learned from this story is whatever may be the situation, we must always stay glued to the path of truth and humility. Knowledge can be attained from anyone who is knowledgeable. We must wholeheartedly accept to learn knowledge from everyone. Knowledge is omnipresent. It's there for everyone to acquire. It doesn't come by the family lineage, but rather by the one who seeks it. Also, from all that we have read about the ancient Vedic gurukuls or ashramas, that these were the institutes of great discipline with strict rules of eligibility for students, as they needed to be from the upper caste or upper varna, such as Brahmin, Kshatriya or Vaishya. Similar account can be also found in Mahabharata when Guru Dronacharya refused to accept Ekalav as a student because he was from a lower caste. However, this story of Satyakama revealed that although such rules existed in the institutions, but if Guru or the teacher sees potential in any student displaying complete honesty, truthfulness, dedication, passion and courage, then he may choose to disregard such rules. Satyakama was a Shudra or a lower caste by birth, as his mother Jābāla was a service maid. But due to his complete honesty, courage and truthfulness, sage Haridrumata Gautama declared him as a Brahmin and accepted him as a student. Thank you, my dear friends, for listening to the story. I hope you have enjoyed it as I have enjoyed retelling it to you. However, before I sign off, I'll ask you 3 questions from the story, and the listeners with all correct answers will be called out in a future episode. So please stay tight as I ask you the first question. What was Satyakama's agony before going to the hermitage of sage Gautama? Next question. What are the 3 non-human gurus or teachers who taught Satyakama about Brahman? The last question. What do you mean by the terms Prakashvan, Jyotishman, Anantavan, Ayatanavan? So please email me your responses. My email is arghyathinks@gmail.com. That is ARGHYATHINKS@gmail.com. I would really love to hear from you and have your responses soon. Until next time with another story from Upanishad, I'll catch you on the other side. Until then,
Shanti Shanti.